NEC Section 250.189 addresses the permitted use of cable shields as equipment grounding conductors. The NEC permits the copper sheath of mineral insulated metal sheath cable to be used as an equipment grounding conductor. In electrical wiring, the terms sheath and shield are often used interchangeably. However, there is a subtle distinction between the two. A sheath is a protective layer that covers and insulates a cable or conductor. It typically provides electrical insulation, mechanical protection, and environmental resistance. A shield is a conductive layer that surrounds a cable or conductor and provides protection against electromagnetic interference, or EMI, or radio frequency interference, or RFI. In the case of mineral insulated metal sheath cable, the copper sheath serves both as an electrical insulation layer and a conductive shield. Therefore, it can be used as an equipment grounding conductor. The NEC specifically mentions mineral insulated metal sheath cable in Section 250.189. This suggests that the use of cable shields as equipment grounding conductors is only permitted for this specific type of cable. However, it's important to note that local electrical codes or authorities may allow the use of cable shields as grounding conductors for other types of metal sheath cables. Always consult the applicable electrical codes and regulations for your specific installation. When dealing with grounding and bonding, remember that the goal is to create a low impedance path for fault current to return to the source. This ensures that overcurrent protective devices, like circuit breakers or fuses, operate quickly to clear the fault. The equipment grounding conductor, or EG, plays a crucial role in this process. It connects the non-current carrying metal parts of equipment to the grounding system. This includes things like metal enclosures, motor frames, and other conductive components. By providing a path back to the source, the EGC helps to ensure that a fault condition will result in a high enough current flow to trip the overcurrent device. The size of the equipment grounding conductor is determined by NEC Table 250.122, which relates the size of the overcurrent protective device to the minimum size of the EGC. It's important to use the correct size EGC to ensure that it can safely carry the fault current. In addition to the EGC, the grounding electrode conductor, or GEC, connects the grounding system to a grounding electrode, such as a ground rod, ground plate, or metal water pipe. The GEC provides a path for fault current to ground in the event of a ground fault. The size of the grounding electrode conductor is determined by NEC Table 250.66, which relates the size of the ungrounded conductors to the minimum size of the GEC. Again, it's important to use the correct size GEC to ensure that it can safely carry the fault current. Bonding is another important aspect of grounding and bonding. Bonding involves connecting together all of the metal parts of the electrical system, including the EGC, the GEC, and any metal enclosures or raceways. This creates a common ground potential throughout the electrical system, which helps to minimize the risk of electric shock. Bonding is typically accomplished using bonding jumpers, which are short lengths of wire that connect the various metal parts together. The size of the bonding jumpers is determined by NEC Section 250.102. When working with metal raceways, such as conduit or cable trays, it's important to ensure that they are properly grounded and bonded. Metal raceways can provide a path for fault current to return to the source, but only if they are properly connected to the grounding system. This can be accomplished by using listed fittings that are designed to provide a reliable electrical connection between the raceway and the EGC. In some cases, the metal raceway itself can be used as the EGC, but this is only permitted if the raceway meets certain requirements. Specifically, the raceway must be listed for use as an EGC, and it must be installed in a way that ensures a continuous electrical connection. When working with flexible metal conduit, or FMC, it's important to use a separate EGC. FMC is not considered to be a reliable grounding path on its own, so a separate EGC is required to provide a path for fault current to return to the source. The EGC can be installed inside the FMC, or it can be run outside the FMC, as long as it is securely attached. When working with non-metallic conduit, such as PVC, an EGC is always required. Non-metallic conduit does not provide a path for fault current, so a separate EGC is essential to ensure that the electrical system is properly grounded. The EGC can be installed inside the non-metallic conduit, or it can be run outside the non-metallic conduit, as long as it is securely attached. Ground fault circuit interrupters, or GFCIs, are another important safety device that can help to protect against electric shock. GFCIs are designed to detect small amounts of current leakage to ground, and to quickly shut off the power to the circuit. GFCIs are typically required in areas where there is a risk of exposure to water, such as bathrooms, kitchens, and outdoor locations. Arc fault circuit interrupters, or RFCIs, are another type of circuit breaker that can help to protect against electrical fires. RFCIs are designed to detect arc faults, which are dangerous electrical arcs that can occur in damaged or deteriorated wiring. RFCIs are typically required in bedrooms and other areas where people sleep. Surge protective devices, or SPDs, are designed to protect electronic equipment from voltage surges. Voltage surges can be caused by lightning strikes, power outages, or other electrical disturbances. SPD work by diverting the surge current away from the protected equipment and into the grounding system. It's important to choose SPD that are rated for the specific voltage and current requirements of the equipment being protected. When installing electrical equipment, it's important to follow the manufacturer's instructions and all applicable electrical codes. This will help to ensure that the equipment is installed safely and correctly, and that it will operate reliably for many years to come. Always use qualified electricians and inspectors. Working with electricity can be dangerous, so it's important to hire a qualified electrician to perform any electrical work. A qualified electrician will have the knowledge and experience necessary to safely and correctly install and maintain electrical equipment. It's also important to have electrical work inspected by a qualified electrical inspector. An electrical inspector will be able to identify any potential safety hazards and ensure that the electrical work meets all applicable codes. Remember that electrical codes are constantly evolving, so it's important to stay up to date on the latest requirements. This can be accomplished by attending training courses, reading trade publications, and consulting with qualified electrical professionals. The goal of grounding and bonding is to create a safe electrical system that protects people and property from electrical hazards. By following the requirements of the NEC and other applicable codes, you can help to ensure that your electrical system is properly grounded and bonded. When dealing with older electrical systems, it's important to pay special attention to the grounding and bonding. Older systems may not have been installed to the same standards as modern systems, and they may have deteriorated over time. It's important to inspect the grounding and bonding system carefully and to make any necessary repairs or upgrades. In some cases, it may be necessary to replace the entire grounding and bonding system. When replacing a grounding and bonding system, it's important to use materials and methods that are compliant with the latest electrical codes. This will help to ensure that the new system is safe and reliable. When working with sensitive electronic equipment, it's important to provide a clean ground. A clean ground is a grounding system that is free from noise and interference. This can be accomplished by using a dedicated grounding conductor for the sensitive equipment and by isolating the grounding system from other sources of noise. The NEC provides specific requirements for grounding and bonding in healthcare facilities. These requirements are designed to protect patients and staff from electrical hazards. Healthcare facilities typically have more stringent grounding and bonding requirements than other types of buildings. The NEC also provides specific requirements for grounding and bonding in industrial facilities. These requirements are designed to protect workers and equipment from electrical hazards. Industrial facilities typically have more complex grounding and bonding systems than other types of buildings. The NEC is a comprehensive set of standards for electrical safety. By following the requirements of the NEC, you can help to ensure that your electrical system is safe and reliable. Consider mineral insulated, or MI, cable. It is a unique wiring method recognized in the NEC. Its construction consists of copper conductors insulated by a mineral insulation, typically magnesium oxide, all encased within a seamless copper sheath. This robust design offers exceptional resistance to heat, fire, and physical damage, making it suitable for harsh environments and critical applications. The copper sheath of MI cable serves multiple purposes. Firstly, it provides a continuous, low-impedance ground path, effectively functioning as an equipment grounding conductor or EG. Secondly, it offers excellent protection against electromagnetic interference or ME and radio frequency interference or RFI. Thirdly, it acts as a barrier against moisture and corrosive elements. NEC Section 332 covers the installation requirements for MI cable. It specifies how the cable must be supported, terminated, and protected to maintain its integrity and ensure safe operation. Proper installation is crucial to fully realize the benefits of MI cable. Now consider metal-clad, or MC cable. It is another common wiring method consisting of insulated conductors enclosed within a flexible metal sheath. The metal sheath provides mechanical protection to the conductors and also serves as a ground path. However, unlike MI cable, the metal sheath of MC cable is not always considered an adequate equipment grounding conductor on its own. NEC Section 250.118 outlines the acceptable types of equipment grounding conductors. While the metal sheath of MC cable can be used as an EGC under certain conditions, it's often necessary to supplement it with a separate grounding wire. This is particularly important for circuits serving sensitive electronic equipment or in areas with high levels of electrical noise. The specific requirements for using the metal sheath of NC cable as an EGC are detailed in NEC Section 250.118. It states that the combined metallic sheath and grounding conductor, if used, must meet the requirements of Section 250.4 FIV or B4. These sections emphasize the need for a lower impedance ground path capable of safely carrying fault current. It's important to note that the metal sheath of MC cable is not always a reliable ground path, especially in older installations or where the cable has been damaged. Therefore, it's always best practice to supplement the metal sheath with a separate grounding wire to ensure a safe and effective grounding system. When installing MC cable, it's crucial to use listed connectors and fittings that are specifically designed for use with MC cable. These connectors provide a secure mechanical and electrical connection between the cable and the enclosure, ensuring a continuous ground path. Improperly installed connectors can compromise the integrity of the grounding system and create a potential safety hazard. In addition to MC cable, armored cable, or AC cable, is another type of flexible metal-clad cable. AC cable has a similar construction to MC cable, but it includes a bonding strip that runs along the inside of the armor. This bonding strip is intended to improve the grounding performance of the armor. However, like MC cable, the armor of AC cable is not always considered an adequate equipment grounding conductor on its own. NEC Section 250.118.11 addresses the use of the armor of AC cable as an EGC. It states that the armor, in combination with the bonding strip, can be used as an EGC if it meets certain requirements. These requirements include that the armor and bonding strip must be listed for use as an EGC, and they must be installed in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions. Even when the armor of AC cable is permitted to be used as an EGC, it's often a good idea to supplement it with a separate grounding wire, especially in critical applications. This will provide an extra measure of safety and ensure a reliable grounding system. When working with any type of flexible metal-clad cable, it's important to be aware of the potential for galvanic corrosion. Galvanic corrosion can occur when dissimilar metals are in contact with each other in the presence of an electrolyte, such as moisture. This can lead to the deterioration of the metal and compromise the integrity of the grounding system. To prevent galvanic corrosion, it's important to use compatible metals for all components of the grounding system. For example, if the cable armor is made of aluminum, it's important to use aluminum connectors and fittings. If the cable armor is made of steel, it's important to use steel connectors and fittings. In addition to using compatible metals, it's also important to protect the grounding system from moisture. This can be accomplished by using weatherproof connectors and fittings and by sealing any openings in the enclosure. Grounding and bonding are essential for electrical safety. By following the requirements of the NEC and using good installation practices, you can help to ensure that your electrical system is properly grounded and bonded. This will protect people and property from electrical hazards and ensure the reliable operation of electrical equipment. Remember to consult the latest edition of the NEC for the most up-to-date requirements. Also, consult with a qualified electrical professional if you have any questions or concerns about grounding and bonding.